ready to start. We had one motion that I considered. Colleague Ilham Groenewald said, let's sing a nice song, and then those of you at the back move to the front for stronger communion. I see you are here, Ilham. But colleagues, very welcome. Why is this, Muhammad, how it will go? We will do it in dim light and soft music then. Okay. Colleagues, good afternoon. We give opportunity to more colleagues to move in, and then we'll start. Okay, colleagues, we will now start. And it is great to see so many of our staff members present. Colleagues, we thank you for taking the time to be here today. And we want to state this gathering is more than just a staff assembly. It's an opportunity to pause, to reflect, and to reconnect with one another as a university community. In shaping today's session, we wanted to create a space that not only shares important institutional updates, but that also fosters meaningful dialogue where your voices, concerns, and your contributions are acknowledged and valued. Before we begin the formal program, we will take a moment of reflection. Please, colleagues, please welcome, enter. So Ilham right in front is filling up, so your wish came true. Okay, colleagues, we can now continue. As I said, we would like to invite you to observe a brief moment of silence and reflection. This moment we honor the loved ones we have lost. We recognize the personal and professional challenges we each carry. We acknowledge the strength it takes to show up for ourselves and for each other. We hold a space now for those whom we've lost, colleagues, alumni, family members, friends, and we miss their absence deeply. Only a few days ago, you all know, we lost one of our students. Chris Sheffers passed on in Dagbreek residence. This moment reminds us, colleagues, of our shared humanity and the preciousness of time, connection and community. Kom ons word stil vir 'n oomblik. Dankie, collega's. We now turn to our Rector and Vice-Chancellor, Prof. Deresh Ramjugarnath, who will share key institutional updates and reflect on the strategic direction of the university. And we ask you that while you listen to him, that you note and also formulate questions you might develop during his presentation. And we will have approximately 35 minutes afterward for an open discussion that I will facilitate. And we hope that today's engagement will leave us all feeling more connected, more informed, and especially more inspired to continue shaping a university culture that is really inclusive, responsive, and humane. Prof. Ramjugarnath.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Good afternoon, colleagues. It's good to see all of you here today, and I greatly appreciate that you are taking your time out of your lunch break to come and spend with us. But hopefully it's going to be a good investment in your time. So this is my first staff assembly since taking office in the role as Rector and Vice-Chancellor of the university. But I think many of you would know that over the course of the last 4 months, I've been going out and meeting with various stakeholders within the institution, including with staff. And in the last 4 months, we've had something like 16 or 17 what we called staff dialogues with various environments within the institution. So the last 3 months have been very busy, but I would like to think of it as a very good busy within the institution, but it's about sharing the direction that we're taking as Stellenbosch University, but also sharing the kind of culture, the kind of business processes, and the way we're starting to look at how we advance that for the institution. So the focus on the presentation today is to a large extent going to be on what I term our people, our processes, and our institutional culture. And it's about how does that contribute in terms of the enhancement of the trajectory that Stellenbosch University is on to achieving Vision 2040. Now, I think you all are very familiar with Vision 2040 and with the mission statement that we have as an institution, as well as what we are aspiring to as an institution and the role that every single staff member, but also the role that every single stakeholder plays in terms of Stellenbosch University realizing its vision. So Vision 2040, I think hopefully all of you know the vision statement off by heart, because that gives us purpose within the organization. I think when you have people within an organization that understand what the organization is about, what the university is about, and about the role that every single one of us plays in the institution, it gives us purpose. And when you have purpose, you feel a lot more fulfilled in terms of the role that you play within the institution and about the kind of productivity that you can then have for the institution. So it's not just about the kind of self-accomplishments, but also the accomplishments that we have then for the institution. So in Vision 2040, Stellenbosch University will be Africa's leading research-intensive university, globally recognized as excellent, inclusive, and innovative. But I like to emphasize that at Stellenbosch University, the last 4 words in the vision statement are the most critical. Everything that we do as an institution through our learning and teaching, through our research and innovation, through the support sector that supports the academic endeavor of the institution, all of that is about the translation into societal impact. And so the last 4 words, in service of society, is what Stellenbosch University is all about. And I think you then would realize that coming out of that, we have a mission statement for the institution. It's about how do we go about doing it. And in my presentation to council, during the process of the appointment of the new rector and vice chancellor, I shared with council that Stellenbosch has all the ingredients of becoming a truly great institution, a truly great university globally. And in that regard, I think we have aspirations that go beyond Vision 2040 in terms of becoming Africa's leading research-intensive university. But we have what it takes to become Africa's first global top 100 university. Now, there hasn't been any African university that has been in the global 100. And I think the trajectory that Stellenbosch is on, we could easily achieve it if we go on a mode of looking at enhancement within the institution. So we have our Vision 2040. Remember, this is to achieve it by 2040. It's not to achieve it in the next 5 years. I think we will make some significant strides as an institution over the next 5 to 10 years, but it's to achieve it by 2040. And the other important thing is for Stellenbosch University to realize its vision, it requires every single one of us to play a role in the success of the institution. This is not something that's driven by council and only the rectorate and the senior leadership of the institution will enable it to take place. No, it requires every single staff member, it requires every single stakeholder to see the important role that you play, no matter where that role is within the organization, in terms of the university achieving its vision. So that's the bolder aspirations that we have for Stellenbosch University, not just to become Africa's leading research-intensive university, but to become a top 100 university, not because we're chasing global rankings, no, but because of the impact that we want to have on the lives of people. Through the impact that we have on the lives of people, it will translate into us becoming a truly great institution. Now, I think you've seen that when we developed Vision 2040, we also developed the strategic framework for Vision 2040, and there were the 6 strategic themes. So a thriving Stellenbosch University, a transformative student experience, purposeful partnerships and inclusive networks, networked and collaborative teaching and learning, research for impact, and employer of choice. These were the 6 strategic themes. What we're going to be doing over the next 5 to 10 years is looking at those 6 strategic themes with a new lens. And that new lens is a lens of enhancement. How do we enhance academic excellence at the institution? How do we enhance the focus on our people, our processes, and our culture within the organization? And about how do we ensure that Stellenbosch University is around for the next 100 years, the next 107 years as an institution, in terms of partnerships and sustainability. So a focus on the kind of holistic sustainability of the institution, which speaks not just to financial sustainability, but to social sustainability, as well as environmental sustainability, and about our people, our culture, our processes. How do we create a truly enabling institution for people to flourish and to thrive at Stellenbosch University. Because if our people flourish and thrive at the institution, then the institution is going to achieve its vision. Our people, our greatest resource in an organization, and I think as an organization we've got to understand that and value our people to a greater extent. It also is the reason why this assembly, I am paying particular attention to highlighting some of the feedback that we have received, well, I should say I have received together with Mohammed, who accompanied me on these meetings that we've had with staff. Because of the 6 strategic themes, we found that the majority, more than 80% of the challenges, issues, complaints were in the space of employer of choice and about staff feeling that they are not truly valued at this institution. So there's a lot of work that we've got to do as an institution in terms of advancing that. And I will speak to some of what these themes were that came out during our staff engagements. Academic excellence is always going to be front and center. If you're a higher education institution and if you don't have that as your primary focus, then you're going to be distracted with other issues in the organization, and it's not going to enable us to really achieve the vision of the institution. First and foremost, Stellenbosch University is an academic institution, and we've got to realize that, and therefore academic excellence is the thing that we've got to really strive for as an organization. So this is the lens now that we are looking at enhancement, and in terms of developing the strategic plan for the institution for the next 5 years, we'll be still looking at the 6 strategic themes, but we'll be looking at it with a lens of academic excellence, people, processes, culture, partnerships and sustainability, all with the aim of enhancement and putting us on a trajectory of holistic transformation within the institution to the achievement of Vision 2040. Now, Stellenbosch University has done well. Over the last decade, the university has become one of the leading research-intensive universities on the African continent. That was not the case 20 years ago. 20 years ago, Stellenbosch University was a strong higher education institution with a strong reputation for learning and teaching, but it didn't have a strong reputation for research and innovation. That has shifted, and we've made great strides in that regard over the last decade. However, when you suddenly end up being recognized as the number 2 or number 3 university on the African continent, sometimes you can become complacent. And so organizations have always got to watch out for that, because what can happen is complacency results in the belief that we are great, therefore we don't need to do things differently, we don't need to change things within the organization, when in fact, organizations should be constantly striving to do better. There should be a culture and a mindset about how do we continually improve as an organization. And if you have that, what results is what we call self-reinforcing success. That means that the organization goes from strength to strength to strength, and you have the realization of the vision that we have as Stellenbosch University. If, however, we get caught in a sense and a narrative that we are excellent and we don't need to change anything within the organization, what tends to happen is you go to a path of unstable trajectory or onto a path of self-reinforcing failure. And there are examples where it's littered examples in literature of companies that have gone down that route, that at one time were leading in their space and due to complacency found themselves extinct. So I think it's a warning, but it's also a way in which we've got to look at the way we move forward as an organization. If we want to be truly globally excellent, a world-class institution, a culture and a mindset of continual improvement has to be embedded within the organization, and that will result in self-reinforcing success within the organization. We are in the process of refining our strategy as an institution. We've been through the 2019 to 2024 strategic framework and the implementation plan. We are reviewing how we've performed as an institution over that 5-year period. And so we've set up a panel that's reviewed our strategy, reviewed how we've performed in terms of an institution, from our teaching and learning, from our research and innovation, from our societal impact. We've also, during that period, had various measures and indicators, so they've assessed all of that, and that inputs will be taken into account in terms of developing the next 5-year plan for the institution. As I've shared with you, Vision 2040 is not going to change. That's the same vision that we have as an institution that we will take forward. The 6 strategic themes are not going to change. The strategic framework will remain the same. The way we will look at it is with the lens of enhancement, and that is the 3 foci that I referred to. So we'll be developing the next 5-year plan. We're hoping to have the next 5-year plan finalized and submitted to Council at the 1 December meeting for approval. We've had a series of consultations and engagements, but we'll be going to a broader institutional consultation now that we have a draft plan, and that will take place over the next few months. We would value the inputs from the various environments within the institution, and that will aid us then in finalizing the goals, the objectives, the measures, and the indicators that we would have as an institution over the course of the next 5 years. What we're starting to do as an institution is to look at the way we performed and the way we look at our strategic planning into the future with what we call a SOAR analysis. We look at our strengths, but we look at opportunities, we look at aspirations, and then we look at the results in terms of how we're performing as an organization. It means that we're going to do a lot more from a monitoring and evaluation, and on an annual basis gauge how we are performing as an organization. And if tweaks need to be made in terms of the goals and the objectives, then we will do that on an annual basis, so that we don't find ourselves looking back over a 5-year period and said we should have done things a little differently in year 2 or year 3 in the strat plan. So this analysis is currently, or has been undertaken, and is part of the process that we are looking at in terms of the way we develop the next 5-year plan within the institution. So as I shared, Vision 2040 strategic framework remains the same. It's the overarching vision, mission, values of the institution. And what we're looking at now is the next 5-year plan and the strategic indicators over the course of the next 5 years. One of the challenges that we do have within the institution that has come out strongly in the assessment of our last 5-year strategic plan, but also about the way we operate as an institution, is that we work in a very siloed manner within the institution. There is no full integration, coordination, and alignment that we have within the institution. Or I should say, we can do things better in that regard in terms of enhancing integration, coordination, and alignment. So part of the challenges that we're hoping to address is by looking at strategic alignment within the institution. So there may be some alignment discussions, there may be some structural realignment that we have taking place, firstly at the rectorate level, that will then flow out through the institution. We're also looking at how we have leadership specialization to drive the strategic themes of the institution, but importantly, to look at the 3 foci of enhancement and how we drive enhancement in performance within the institution, and then to really strengthen governance and accountability within the institution, and to get more responsive governance within the organization, stemming all the way from council, all the way down to the environments at the coalface in terms of the operations at Stellenbosch University. So in this regard, we're going to be looking at the appointment of dedicated leaders that will drive specific strategic initiatives for the institution to the realization of our Vision 2040. So colleagues, I now come to sharing with you some of the points that were raised in the various staff dialogues that we had. And so we engaged with, I think it must have been over 1,500 staff members over the course of the last 3 months in these various staff dialogues. And as I mentioned a bit earlier, more than 80% of the issues that were raised, the challenges that were brought forward, were around the Stellenbosch University strategic theme of employer of choice. Staff believe that there's a lot more that we can do as an institution to improve this. So I'm sharing these staff issues with you. These are that come directly from staff members. So staff believe that in the last decade or so, we've had an institution that's been too focused on becoming research intensive, and it's been done at the expense of teaching and learning within the organization. And there's been too much of emphasis placed on research and innovation, and not enough recognition, reward placed on teaching and learning. And I have to say that when you start to look at the assessments that were done by our panels, it shows that we have some challenges in that regard. We've seen a plateau in performance academically when it comes to learning and teaching. So a lot of these kind of perceptions of staff are to some extent validated by what we're starting to see within the organization. There's also a sense that there's too much of a disparity in the organization between academic staff and past staff, administrative support staff within the institution. One of the comments that hit me, that struck me the most, was our colleagues in the past environment sharing with me that they feel like they're second-class citizens at this institution. Now, that should never be the case. Staff at this institution all contribute to the academic excellence of this institution. We cannot have a world-class university if we don't have world-class academics together with world-class administration and support services at this institution. So we can never create this sense that past staff are inferior to academic staff. We play different roles in this institution, but we all contribute to the success of this institution. And I think that's the sense that we really got to shift within the organization. It speaks to other aspects as well when it comes to things like incentives and rewards and remuneration and policies and so forth. But this is the work that we've really got to enhance within human resources to not create that kind of perception or feeling within the organization. It also plays out in perceptions that our staff have, that some staff have got career pathways for development within the organization, where for other staff members it isn't as easy, or it isn't as well laid out in terms of how progression and development can take place within the organization. So the lack of career growth opportunities and a feeling that once you're in a role, you stay in that role until retirement. So those are the kind of things that kept coming up within these kind of staff dialogues. The other one, and I know we've got a lot of colleagues that are sitting in the audience that are from human resources. This is not being critical of human resources, but this is sharing with you the way our staff feel about the way we treat them and the way we manage them within the institution. So a lot of the comments that came out were around HR not consistently being viewed as supportive within the institution, and in terms of our HR being, to a large extent administrative in the way they functioned within the institution and not providing the full value chain of support to our staff. The full value chain going all the way from not just recruiting and attracting and remuneration and reward and incentive, but also in terms of development and training and succession planning and future career pathways, all that kind of full value chain that we need to have from an HR point of view. So I've shared this with Miriam, our Chief Director for Human Resources. She knows that we've got to do a lot better as an organization, but I have to really admit that they are also limited in their capacity. So one of the things that we really got to do as an institution is to capacitate human resources to be able to provide this broad support that we want to have for our staff. The support where staff feel that given the support I have from the institution, I can truly realize my full potential within this organization. So some of the other issues that staff raised were dissatisfaction, on things like the long service awards and the level of recognition that we have for long service awards. And we are an institution that also has challenges. We have a history as an organization. That history as an organization has resulted in particular demographic groups not having been given opportunities at this institution in the past. That translates into people not being able to have served in this institution for long periods of time. So these are all things that we're going to have to address as an institution in terms of how we do recognize staff that would not have had an opportunity to have served for 25 years at Stellenbosch University, purely because of the history of the country and the policy of this institution in the past. I've shared with you now that for HR to do the job and for them to really deliver in terms of what we want to have as an institution that is truly employer of choice, we've got to capacitate human resources to be able to deliver on that. And I've shared with you that they've got to become a proactive strategic partner to all of our people within the university. One of the real challenges, and I picked this up, is around communication at Stellenbosch University. And this was brought up as well by staff. Staff expressed a desire for better internal communication so that they know about the opportunities available to them. We can share with them things around professional development, growth, upskilling, but also in general about what's taking place in the organization. And so they feel informed so that they can do their jobs within the organization in a proactive manner and to significantly contribute to the advancement of this institution. And I think especially after COVID, we know that there have been increasing challenges, not just at Stellenbosch University, but globally with staff and issues around mental health and well-being. And these are significant concerns as well at Stellenbosch University. Staff noted that few colleagues are choosing to stay for the duration of their contracts, and they feel undervalued and overburdened as well, and that contributes to issues around mental health and well-being. Part of our strategy moving forward as an institution is about creating a truly enabling environment within Stellenbosch University for people to thrive, but about also creating a humanizing culture within the institution. I think we find, and it is the case in a number of organizations, that culture is something that prevails. It comes with a history of the organization. It comes with a style of doing things. And some may say that Stellenbosch University, and I've heard this comment as well in the various staff dialogues, has had a history of being very top-down, very autocratic, and not giving the people within the institution a voice, so they can voice themselves and they can feel that they are making a contribution, they're being heard, and they're being seen within the institution. So those are the kind of issues that we also are looking at how we change within the institution. I don't need to share with you that we've had some challenges with business processes at Stellenbosch University over the last few years. And this was also something that was brought up by staff. We've got to really concentrate on how do we reduce the academic and the administrative burden within the institution. How do we free up the time of our staff so that they contribute to true value addition within the institution? the true value addition is to the academic project of the institution. Whether you are in the academic environment or whether you're in the PAS environment, we want to ensure that our business processes, our administrative processes within the institution are world-class, that you are not being frustrated by those business processes, administrative processes, and it frees you up to do more productive work as opposed to the burden, the administrative burden, the bureaucratic burden that we have within the organization. So there's a strong agenda going to be on digital transformation within the institution, but to do it with proper change management that needs to take place as well within the organization. It starts by, first of all, understanding our business processes, simplifying them, making them more effective, more efficient before we digitize them. It's not about taking analog systems and digitizing them, because then you end up with the challenges that we faced. So it's about better ways in which we start to look at change management in that regard at Stellenbosch University. And how do we really fully utilize the opportunities that come with digital transformation and about making our institution far more digital, not just in the learning and teaching space, but also in the administrative space. Our culture was something that also came up in the staff dialogues. There's a real sense of distrust, not just from staff within the institution, but from also stakeholders of the institution. So there's a sense or a perception that staff surveys do not capture the true sentiment of employees and the way they feel within the organization and the way they think and they want to be heard. And a lot of staff get a sense that, or feel pressured that they've got to respond in a way that creates the impression that everything is fantastic in the organization. So there's a lot of that kind of sentiment that's coming out. There's a feeling that there's a lack of transparency within the organization, that decisions are taken and are not shared appropriately in the organization. And it goes back to the whole issue of communication. And how do we ensure that staff feel they get a true sense of where the organization is going, they're part of that journey, and they can contribute in a meaningful way to the journey that the university is taking. Departmental concerns, people feel that they often vanish into the system, that there are complaints that are raised at the coalface in centers and in departments that doesn't make its way to the highest levels within the organization. This has come out on a frequent basis, issues around bullying and abuse of power and the power dynamics that are rife in certain environments within the institution. Again, the call for better communication with regards to shifting the type of culture that we want to have as an institution, and really about concrete actions that we need to take in all of our environments within the institution to realize the type of environment and culture that we would want to have at Stellenbosch University that's aligned to our vision, that's aligned to our values as an organization, and it starts by every one of us exhibiting the values that we have at Stellenbosch University. E-care, okay? Excellence, compassion, accountability, respect, and equity. In a general sense that we've created an impression as an organization that you should be grateful for working at Stellenbosch University. We're not grateful for having you as employees of the institution, but you should be grateful for working for us. So I think those are some of the kind of perceptions that came out extremely strongly. I mean, there were a number of other ones that I could tell you as well. And what we're going to be doing into the future is we are going to be having a communique that will come out from the rector's office, and we will share on a much broader scale in terms of those issues, but also about how we're planning to address these kind of perceptions, complaints, that staff are bringing to our attention as an institution. Because as I said, for us to get the most out of our staff at the institution, we're going to get staff to feel that they are really part of the institution. They're excited every morning to get out of bed and have a purpose at this institution and come here and be productive and contribute in a meaningful way to the advancement of the institution, because by doing that, they're contributing to being in service of society. So our foci going forward is going to be heavily focused on creating an enabling environment. It's about having the appropriate human resource policies and practices that speak broadly to the kind of support that we need to have for our staff, not just in the attraction, retention, but also on things like reward, incentive, competitive remuneration, performance advancement, the holistic approach to looking at well-being of our staff within the institution, and looking at how, from a process point of view as well, how we eliminate issues around mental health kind of issues and staff well-being issues because of our administrative systems and processes not being effective and efficient within the organization. When I gave my presentation to Council, as well as my presentation to the Senate and the IF, I emphasized heavily that we've got to shift to becoming a humanizing institution that has a humanizing culture. And I'm just going to read out what I said to Council and to Senate and the IF. And this is what we need to have at Stellenbosch University if we want to truly get the most out of our people. A humanizing culture is one that prioritizes the dignity, well-being, and intrinsic worth of individuals. In a humanizing culture, interactions, policies, and practices are designed to treat people with respect, empathy, and understanding. This culture emphasizes the importance of recognizing and valuing the humanity in everyone, fostering an atmosphere where individuals feel seen, feel heard, and valued for who they are, beyond just their roles or their functions within the organization. And it goes back to what I said right at the start, that every single one of you, every single person in this organization has a role to play in the success of Stellenbosch University. And moving forward, I want us to do it in that fashion, to realize that you have a purpose, a strong sense of purpose, and about contributing to the success of this institution, because by doing that, we are truly going to advance society, not just in our region, in our province, nationally, but also continentally. Colleagues, thank you very much for your attention.
Colleagues, we say thank you to our rector for an inspirational contribution. We will now open the floor for discussion, for inputs, for questions. We ask that you perhaps also, when you put your question or make your contribution, just identify yourself. And then, colleagues, specifically, we remind you that you could put questions from the presentation, but also questions that you have separately from the presentation. The rector will respond, and we also have various colleagues here to whom the rector might refer some of the questions. So we have about 15 to 20 minutes for this session. Ek sien daar aan die spoorwegkant van die veld 'n colleague. Colleague Wade, was it your hand? I think back of my standard 10 class years ago. We did a poem, and when the teacher asked the student to read from the poem and then give an explanation of the poem, and the student just didn't respond, and the teacher said, please explain. He said, well, teacher, I thought it's so clear what NP van Wyk was saying here. So there's a hand, you may proceed. Identify yourself, colleague.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bernadette Peterson. I'm in the EMS faculty. I have a question with regard to, specifically to the slide where the strategy of the university currently address the processes, people, and the alignment with how we are going to improve or support. As support staff currently, we have, this is my experience, is we have extremely strenuous business processes that we are performing on behalf of the university. So when it comes to digitalizing business processes and this move to the digital transformation space, my question is, does the university have a library where business processes is documented? Do we know what our core business processes are? Do we know what our mission critical processes? Do we know what the turnaround times for a normal business process is? Because people are working under extreme pressure where you receive an email this morning and people 10 minutes later expect an answer, whereas you have other demands that is taking up your time. You have to go find information to draft a simple email, whereas what is the standard of correspondence? What is the standard of how we work with our administrative staff? Do we know even what our administrative staff, also which one of our people is responsible for what in our business process space? That's what I want to know.
No, thank you very much for that. So when I said about us wanting to become a world-class institution, and our business processes and our administrative processes have to be world-class as well, I have to say that we need a lot of work to be done in this area at Stellenbosch University. So we do not have all of our business processes documented at this institution. We've created a situation where it sits in the heads of some of our staff members, and that is not good for us as an organization. So we are going to be going through an extensive process of documenting our business processes, which will also then entail the development of service level agreements. Because if you want to clearly get an understanding of how do you become a world-class administrative institution, there needs to be very clear service level agreements as to expectations in turnaround time, delivery, and so forth within the administrative system of the institution. But I'm sad to say at this point in time, there's a lot of work that we still got to do to develop that, to understand it. We have initiated it, but there will be a greater focus in terms of ensuring that we get this right in the next 18 to 24 months.
In front, please. Keep your hand raised. Yeah.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, colleague. My name is Lucky Mukwena. I'm from the CAA Central Facility. What touched me from the beginning to the end was when you started, you say, we people-centered institution, and that touched me. And I want to appeal to everyone here. Change it's not going to come from there. It's going to come from you and I. I belong, you belong, we belong. I'm going to go as far as saying, if you feel you don't belong here, step aside. Let those who no, it's true. Let those who feel they want to belong, step aside. I'll tell you why I'm saying that. You know, let me finish. Let me finish. You'll get your opportunity. Because if I am not want to be part of the solution, then I'm the problem. I need to be part of the solution. Because the solution has to come from all of us. That's why I said, if you feel you don't belong, if you're in a relationship and it's not working for you, what do? You're saying them for the wrong reasons.
No, we want it to work.
Thank you. Colleagues, could I have to say I'm very glad. One of the things that we want to do from a culture point of view in the institution is to get people's voices heard, right? It's critical in that regard. We may not always agree with what is said, but it's important to give people the opportunity to be heard in the institution, to be seen within the institution. And that's the other part of the culture change that needs to take place at Stellenbosch University. People must feel that they can contribute in any way to this organization. We would like to take everyone along with us in the journey that we are going as an institution. I truly believe that every single person in this organization has a role to play and can contribute to the success of this institution. And what we were doing is doing our utmost to make sure that you are provided with the support in order to do that within the organization. But the message is very clear. You all have a significant role in the institution, regardless of what that role is. And everyone can contribute. The solutions to the challenges that we have at Stellenbosch University are not for the rectorate only to solve. Every one of you has ideas, every one of you can come up with solutions, and we want to create an environment where all those can be heard, and we listen to people, and we take those inputs in terms of decision making in the institution.
Thank you. I think in front was a hand, and then I acknowledge your hand.
Thank you, Prof. I think my name is Wade. I think you addressed my concerns that I highlighted when you met with us individually. The thing about the 25-year service, that you only get 5,000 rand for the last 20 years already. So I think that's something that must be relooked urgently. The other thing is about bullying. Bullying is on the rise. We always say it's on the rise for the last 2 years now, but do we have a code of conduct or some policy in place that we can curb the thing or we can address the thing? The last thing I want to highlight is the thing about working from home. Do we have a policy in place? Are we looking to have an institutional policy, and we don't just leave it for every environment head to decide for himself what he wants to do, because that will lead to inconsistencies and will lead to unhappiness among staff members. The last thing I missed in your presentation is in the last 2 years we received a 1%, and the last year 2%, and I think you missed in your slide the 3%. I call it the 3% thank you bonus. I think you missed that in the slide.
You want to take the others?
So colleague, I think that's one of the things that we're looking at, is broadly looking at recognition, reward within the institution, and looking at it in a holistic manner. So that's what I've tasked HR with terms of looking at and developing that further at Stellenbosch University. It means doing a lot more kind of benchmarking of our institution, but also there has to be accountability, right? You can't just look at it without ensuring that there's performance-driven culture and there's accountability as well within the organization. So we're looking at it in a holistic sense, but all of it to create a sense where we value the people within the organization.
Thank you. Thank you.
First in front and then you second, colleague.
Thank you, Prof, for your presentation. My question relates to transformation, particularly diversity and inclusion of people with disabilities, and specifically neurodiversity. What is the institution doing to capacitate itself around those issues? Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Ethel Piri from Agri-Sciences.
So I think you would know that every organization in this country has an employment equity plan. And in terms of the employment equity plan, there's a number of kind of targets that we have as an institution. One of them is obviously on disability as well. And I know that our human resources is working very closely under the leadership of Prof. Nico in terms of aligning various kind of initiatives and strategies as to how we are able to achieve the targets that we have in our employment equity plan, which speaks to that particular item. But I'm not too sure if Prof. Nico or Miriam want to elaborate further in that regard.
Mariam?
Thank you, Prof. Daresh. Good afternoon, colleagues. Yes, I was actually just turning back and looking at my colleague Katlego because there's a lot of effort going into raising awareness and consciousness around neurodiversity in our institution. There's workshops that they've designed, and Katlego, I think you are involved, but also with colleagues in CASET, which was our old word was the Transformation Office, and Dr. Grammer in Campus Health. So definitely a focus on it, and workshops being designed to raise consciousness and awareness around it so that campus can understand what it is that we're talking about and not only deal with issues in a very narrow way. Usually things come up in perhaps a performance discussion or from that perspective, but really to look at this in a more integrated way and to raise consciousness and understanding, because it is about inclusivity and a place of belonging for us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mariam. Okay. There's a next question, please, colleague.
Am I audible? Okay. My name is Nospio, and I wanted to address the comment on belonging. You're in a very privileged position to sit here and have the security of job permanency, but also the security of whatever else benefits you get from this institution, and be able to talk about, yes, you can feel like you belong, and if you don't, you must step outside. You do not understand the precarious position within which many young people, many young black women face when it comes to our contract positions in this university. Many of us are on FTCs, and we are the BEE. So you cannot tell me that in an environment that is showing me that I don't belong based on the fact that my job is precarious and the nature within which I'm supposed to do the work is precarious, so nothing is stable. You cannot tell me that if I feel like I don't belong, then it's up to me. It's because you're making me feel like I don't belong by the very nature within which you treat me. So that needs to be acknowledged, and I think there's something very problematic about allowing that kind of language to foster, because it implies that it's okay to do things like that and say things like that, and it's not.
Shall we go for one more?
Yeah, I think we can take a couple more questions if there are.
Hi, my name is Ainsley Trutte, and I'm from engineering. My question is, how is it that, say in a faculty, but different departments, how is it that, I'm making an example, I'm doing an admin job, but in the same faculty, but in a different department, there's someone appointed that's doing the same job, and in a different department then also in the same faculty doing the same job, but we are all on different levels, like one is on a C, one is on a B, and one is on an A. What justifies that person, one person is on a different job level than the other one, but it's the same job that's being done?
No, thank you very much for that. So one of the challenges that we do see in the institution is consistency. And there's a inconsistency at the moment in the organization. A part of the work that Human Resources is doing under the Performance Advancement Framework is to look at the consistency of job descriptions, grading, and so forth that we have within the institution. It's also part of the bigger work that's being done by Human Resources on organizational design and development. It's an area that we're going to be growing at Stellenbosch University to address particularly these kind of issues within the organization. But Mariam, I'm not sure if you want to add further.
Thank you very much for that question. I think at the heart of this lies feeling that you are being treated fairly. Because I think that is what really touches us when we think someone else is doing the same job, but they're at a higher level, etc. So I just wanted to put that on the table. So if I just may take the opportunity to commend the rector on speaking to staff and hearing all of this feedback and really putting people issues center stage. I think it says something about us as a community being able to speak and saying these are the issues that concern us. And then beyond that, to start to do something about it. And I think just recognizing, it's usually HR has to sell, if you take care of your people, you have success in the organization. But it sounds like, feels like certainly, HR doesn't have to do that harder sell job anymore. So I just wanted to put that out there. It's fantastic. And I feel very optimistic about what is to come. But I also want to just say something else, that we do have a big backlog in terms of the kind of HR work that we do need to do to become more strategic and to be a really successful university. And so when I hear the questions and some of the questions that have been submitted before this meeting, they speak to some very basic issues that need attention. And the list is quite long. We're not going to get to all of it very quickly, but we're going to have to, and we are prioritizing some of the basic things that we do need to put in place. So you raise an issue around job design and job evaluation. When we evaluate jobs, we should never do it in isolation. When you look at the job, we're not looking at the person and how they're performing, but you've got to look at the job in relation to other jobs, who it reports to, and I'm not going to go into too much detail, but you've got to actually say, are there other jobs like this? And if you are truly comparing apples with apples, then the job grade should be the same. And so what we don't have, one of these basic things, is the jobs repository. So every time we start talking about hiring or replacing, then we start the process from scratch. Ne? And that is creating unnecessary work, and it's a problem even for HR because it puts immense burden on the HR practitioners who are already under-resourced. So as part of the performance advancement process, we are having to start in the middle and build a whole lot of back-end architecture like a jobs repository, like a qualifications framework, etc., etc. So there's a lot of work that we are doing right now. We're trying to prioritize what the basic architecture should look like, with the under-resourcing. It's like fixing the plane while you're flying it. But these are really, really important issues to look at so that people can feel that sense of belonging and that they are treated fairly. Thank you.
Shall we conclude? Colleagues, we want to acknowledge that we did receive some questions beforehand. We will respond to it, and we thank the colleagues who submitted questions, and some of them really ask also for further engagement with the specific colleagues. In this session now, we prioritize those who were here and who posed their questions here directly, but we also encourage you to please, when there are questions and concerns, contact us in the HR context, but also in other divisions. We really can see we have a rector who prioritizes transparency and openness. And before I give the opportunity to the rector to dismiss us, I teased the rector and said, you know, those in church context, they always say we like the reverend to do huisbesoek, to visit us. And we're very glad our rector is doing the house visits and hearing the hearts of people and helping us to really address what's living in the heart and in the experience of colleagues on campus. You may dismiss us, Rector.
Prof. Nico, thank you very much. Colleagues, just to say, we have all the ingredients to be an absolutely great institution, a great institution that's in service to society. And I want you to leave today feeling that every one of you has a role to play in us achieving that as an institution. And we will, as a team, work together to really realizing the full potential of every one of you, but ultimately to the vision of Stellenbosch University. With that, thank you very much, and I greatly appreciate you attending.